What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. And it's Friday, and for today's video I wanted to do something a little bit different, actually not really gaming related at all, and as the name of the video suggests, more a discussion around content creation, having a channel on YouTube, being a streamer, being a content creator on YouTube, and just what I would imagine, even though it's still such an early thing for me, but some really important things which help me to understand how to do things better and how to get better results from it. This is by no means like a massive channel yet. We've just recently hit 5,000 subs, but that was such a monumental milestone for me after being stuck at very low subs for a very long time, but also at the same time wondering that, would I ever be able to get to 1,000 or get to 2,500 or get to 5,000 or whatever? More than anything else, this is a way for me to pay it forward and give back to the community, which has welcomed me. And what I mean by that are viewers and subscribers on YouTube, on the platform, but also like-minded creators. And it's just a way for me to give back some of the, I would say, goodwill and support that I've gotten to this point. And really also just to pass the message that I believe personally, in my opinion, that the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle keeping anybody back from doing this, whether it's part-time or full-time, is actually yourself. And that I know that in the world that we live in today, there's this consensus that there's, so much content out there. There's so many creators on there that we have reached some kind of level of saturation, or that, everything that can be said and should be said has been said, and so you have nothing new to add to the discussion or anything like that. And that's really not true. It will be true for you if that's what you choose to believe, and if you choose to use that as, I would say, the excuse for not being able to reach certain goals or certain milestones. But I do think that, in my opinion, that is more a you thing, and not a, the world or a YouTube or, whatever thing. So what I wanted to do is, let's discuss a brief overview of this particular channel itself, and, the goals that I set out with, and maybe my mindset or so on. But at the same time as well, maybe let's make it 4 pointers or pieces of advice that I could leverage at this point of my journey already, where if you are, trying to get your first 500 subs or your first 1,000 subs, right? Because that's the main milestone that everybody's aiming for. That's the one that kind of seems unsurmountable when you start out, and the road beyond that. So like I said, this channel rather just recently reached 5,000 subs. I think we're like 5,100 now at the recording of this video. And I started this channel essentially when I planned to start creating content was in 2020 in September. So roughly about, what would that be? That's roughly about, let's say, 8 to 9 months ago at the recording of this video. And when I started out, I didn't want to start out as a specific game focused channel. And that's funny though, because anybody that looks at the analytics of my channel right now will see that, let's say, by far the majority of my views and my subs have come from the content that I've created for a game by the name of Outriders. But it goes deeper than that, because the point is, as I said, when I started out the creation of this channel, I looked at it from a perspective of, I'm not a pro gamer. I'm sitting here saying that I'm not particularly good at any specific game. I play a whole wide range of games across many platforms, and I've also been doing this for a very long time. So I don't tend to lock myself down into doing one thing and one thing only, because it is a hobby for me as well, and it is something that I want to consume a wide spectrum of options, from. So when I started out, I very much realized that, I play a lot of Destiny 2, for example, but I wasn't going to be a Destiny 2 channel. And, I play a lot of, Warzone is another good example. I play a lot of Warzone, but I wasn't going to be a Warzone channel. But still, I created content for Warzone because, of course, that's where some of my expertise lies. And it's something that I spend a lot of time on. So you'd kind of be a fool not to just mine that content and bring that into it. But again, like I said, I started out thinking that more than anything else, I wanted to create a community-based channel, something that had longevity and that I could essentially pivot out into streaming, but also create helpful guides and, you know, that sort of thing for, because that's really where a lot of my interest lies in, you know, sharing the things that I find, helping other people do the things that they haven't done yet and that I might have achieved already, giving them easier ways of doing that and that sort of thing. So that's really the angle at which I approached it from. But the funny thing that happened is and this is going to allow me to sort of segue into my first piece of advice, my first hint or helpful tip, I guess, is that essentially for the first 6 months of this channel, I tried to do a little bit of everything. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But the point is, when you're trying to build a following, when you're trying to build a community, you are going to inevitably attract a certain, you know, group of people. And what I mean by this is, you know, if you post, for instance, specific content around a game, and it's a game that has a huge following at the moment, if you manage to grab a following there of people that come to your channel because you, for instance, offer helpful advice on how to complete certain objectives or how to do certain things, then those are the kinds of people that are going to sub to you. And then if you create, for instance, content where, and I'm very much speaking about my own story here because this is literally what I did, when you then, for instance, create content where you review movies that you've watched, that's not bad content. And it's by no means saying that you shouldn't put that out there, but the point is that that's not going to be as successful at that point in time because you have a small following and because you have a small channel, as, for instance, the content of where you're, you know, showing people how to do something in Destiny 2, for instance. And the effect that has is you start to realize that you kind of have to focus into certain areas. Now, that doesn't sound great when I put it that way because it kind of sounds like, you know, I'm saying that you're going to have to choose and only do, you know, viral things or things that are in right now or anything like that. But that's not true. You can still do your own content you know that you want to do, and I believe that there's growth in that. It will just not be as fast, and it just will not be as cumulative as it would be if you find something that you are able to put a lot of effort into and gain a lot of content from and essentially share that with an audience. And whatever that content may be, I mean, whether you're cooking dishes or whether you're taking really nice photos or whether you're playing games and helping people do certain things better. Maybe you're really, really good at, you know, sniping. So you're just making lots and lots of montages of sniping. That's a thing, right? So that's it. So my point with the first hint is essentially that at the beginning, the first 6 months, I tried to do a little bit of everything. Because I was doing a little bit of everything, and so I couldn't really catch a foothold. But around about the time that Outriders came out, I looked at it and I said, this is a game that I'm going to be playing a lot of. It is a game that supports the idea of making guides and builds and that sort of thing for. There's theory crafting there that can be done, and that's fantastic content for videos. And secondly, it supports the analytical approach that I have to games and to the way that I view information. So I'm leaning on something which is like a character strength of mine. And that gives me the opportunity to basically go to the second point. And that is that as a content creator, I think it matters, and I suppose a streamer as well, it matters that you push your strengths. And that you don't come down on yourself for the areas where you are not that strong, or let's call it your weaknesses, although I hate that word. What I mean by this is that, again, referring to what I said about the analytical approach that I bring to things, this is something that I just do by default. It is one of what I believe my strengths as a person, and it's also something which, you know, applies to my day job. And so by pivoting into that, something which comes naturally for me already, it allows me to create that sort of content. Now, you can have there are many strengths out there. You can be a brilliant conversationalist, or you could analyze certain situations quite well, and that might mean that social commentary is something that you would find interest in. You could, for instance, have a very broad knowledge of literature or a very broad knowledge of movies or something, and then your strength would be the analysis of that sort of content. But I definitely think that it's important that you should pivot and stand behind your strengths, that you could bring to the platform, that you could bring to your content. Because what that's also going to do is it's going to shine through in what you make. Because you're going to look comfortable in doing it, and it's going to feel like it comes natural to you, and you're going to have fun, which is really, really important with doing this. There's two ways of looking at this, and there's, of course, that it's a job, and that it's something that you have to do because there's a goal and there's, results that you want from it. But at the same time as well, I think it goes a long way if you actually enjoy doing it. And that's going to show in the things that you create, and that's going to show when you're streaming. A common, I guess, I don't know if it's a complaint really, but a statement that people make is viewers, when they watch someone, whether it's their content or whether, it's them streaming something, they can see if there's passion. They can see if this is something that the person enjoys and that they're actually having a good time doing it, or if it's forced and it feels like, oh God, I need to get through the next 4 or 5 hours so I can just get this over with. And that's gonna shine through in those moments. So I definitely think that that's quite important. Now, the third item, and this is much more, the first 2 points I was talking about was very, it's a personality kind of thing, right? But the third point is much more about like a factual thing, and that is that it helped me a lot to start learning about analytics and about keyword research and all of that. And the point is that you need to find ways to also just make your content seen. And YouTube, and of course, I suppose the other platforms as well, but I'm on YouTube, so I'm primarily talking about YouTube, but I'm sure that this is true for any social media of any kind, is that you need to understand the mechanisms that drive that content. Now, I'm not suggesting that you suddenly become some YouTube super doctor or anything like that, although that would definitely help, right? But the point is that once I started using the tools which YouTube provide to all content creators, which is the analytics that are built into the studio, and you looking at which times of the day the people that consume your content, when they come on, and then it's more in your benefit to actually release content at those specific times to get the maximum retention and more people, right? But also other things like, when do, viewers of your video drop off? So do you have like a really strong intro and then they kind of like lose interest halfway through the video and they never watch the end? So if you say some really cool stuff at the end, like, 70% of the people never see that because they kind of lose interest halfway along the way. And that can help you start thinking like, hey, wait a minute, how can I change this? But you're only going to know that if you use the analytics of this. I mean, this goes further as well, where you have excellent apps out there like vidIQ and TubeBuddy that allow you to simplify a lot of this and give you at your fingertips and at a glance a lot of this information that you would find useful, like which time of the day, do you get the most views, and just basically, which area in the world are your viewers from majority wise? What are the age breakdown? Is it mostly young people? Is it mostly males? Is it mostly females? All of this, there's fantastic information available in there. And the keyword research, which is such a big thing, and essentially keyword is basically, you can think about it as, hashtags or tags that you put on your video, which are the search terms that people look for, whether they're searching for some content outside the platform or within the platform. And this is very important and can make a fantastic difference between a video's virability, is that a word? Like, like what the uptick of it would be and how fast people would see it. But that really helped me a lot. I paid a lot of attention to it at the start, because I knew it was important, but I really only started getting into it about, so let's say 3 months, 4 months ago. But also looking at how other people, how other content creators are using these tools, are using their tags. So educating yourself in that is just you using the tools that are available to you at your disposal to the best that you can. And there's really no reason not to do it, because the success that you can get from that is so massive. And then I guess the last one, and this is really just once again like a me thing, and it can be completely different from person to person, but I can say wholeheartedly that the reason why this also works for me and why it continues to work for me is because I didn't go all in. So it is a side thing for me still, I think it goes far further than a hobby right now, to be honest, with the amount of time that I spend on this. But I do still have a day job. I have an actual, 9 to 5 or whatever you want to call it. But the benefit of doing that, look, I have almost no free time, and there's a sacrifice that you have to make to do it this way. But doing it that way, where you maintain like a Bruce Wayne and a Batman alter ego, right, where you're doing two things at once, is that it allows you a certain amount of freedom to not feel pressured with, I have to make 2 videos a day, and I have to release 14 videos a week, and I have to do 3 videos over the weekend, and I have to make videos about this, and my videos have to be longer than 10 minutes, and I have to talk about this thing, and I have to talk about that thing. And it just takes a lot of the pressure off it, because the point is, you're not bound by, the idea that you need to make this as big and as fast a success as you can, so that you can reap the monetary rewards from this, because it's the only way that you're sustaining yourself. It's the only way that you're paying for your lifestyle. Now, I know that I'm lucky that I was able to do that, because for a lot of content creators out there and a lot of people that are starting out, this is perhaps the only option that they have. And so I'm fully aware that this point is not going to apply for everybody. It doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. But to me, it made all the difference, because I am able to now say, you know what, it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, I haven't made a video yet this week, but I don't really have anything new to say. I don't really have anything new to add to the discussion or to add to, the whole thing. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste your time by making you watch me, waffle about with no real point, and, essentially just because I need to put something out. And at the same time as well, it's going to allow me to look and sit back and go, for me, it's more a quality versus quantity kind of thing. And that's really the point. And that's made this, and sorry that I'm literally sweating like crazy here because we're going through a heat wave, but in any case, that's just it. But that's what has allowed me to feel like this is working for me. Now, again, anybody else's growth will be different, and it's quite possible that, if you go viral or something like that, then 5,000 subs in seven months is like, whatever. But I did feel, however, that I just wanted to, more than anything else, just discuss some of these things. You don't see this a lot on the on the internet, on YouTube, and I find that a lot of people, or a lot of content creators, or a lot of content out there is about, do this fast and get it done as quick as possible, and how to get your 4,000 view hours like within a month, and all of that. And the point is that, again, I feel that it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to build something that has longevity, that has legacy, whatever word you want to attach to that, but meaning that has a timelessness to it, that you essentially, you build this audience, you build this channel, you build this whole thing, and you're not trying to go for a wham bam, thank you ma'am, I'm in this for 6 months and then I'm out and I'm going to try and get as much as you can, then basically none of the points that I've said so far will really help you. Because for me, it has always been about being more than just about one game, and more than just about one, span of time. And that's been the objective for me to create here. And that's really where a lot of these points and a lot of these things that I've mentioned, factor into. But that's it. Sorry for the super long video. I think we're almost at 20 minutes already, but I did kind of script this, but I went a little bit off a tangent here. It is, however, something which I feel very passionate about and I love talking about. And I want to invite anybody that has any questions, any small channels that are looking to take off, you're trying to get your first 100 subs, you're trying to get your first 1,000 subs, and you just have questions, you have things that you'd like to know, and you don't really have a place where you can go ask it. To go in the comments of this video, ask the questions. There are no such things as dumb questions, you know. Ask the things that you'd like to know. If you need some advice on something, please go ahead and say that in the comment section, or go ahead and join the Discord, which is linked in the channel here. We have a lot of gamers on there, a lot of people playing different games together, but more than that, it's also just a community of like-minded players and content creators and consumers of this lovely entertaining medium. So you can ask the questions there. I'm very active on the Discord as well, so if I don't catch you in the comments here, I'll catch you there. Or last but surely not least, there's an email address linked in the description as well, which you're more than welcome to use as well. But that's it basically for today. I hope that this has been somehow helpful to someone. More than anything else, I kind of just want to say, you keep at it. Keep up the grind, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's basically the point. But thank you very much for all the support. Thanks for watching the video, especially if you made it this far. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content, as well as some of the other videos that I've made. I'll keep them coming, and it does, however, help me grow the brand, grow the channel. But thanks so much, and it's just super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, and an awesome evening wherever you are. And until next video, fucking cheers.